Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonah White. I'm an independent apocalyptic author, the author of the Shadows of Darkness series. And if you haven't known already, I'm going to be releasing the second book of my Shadows of Darkness series this coming summer of 2021. It's an apocalyptic thriller series, and you can go to my website www.jonahwauthor.com to learn more about my Shadows of Darkness series, and as well as if you subscribe today to my website for free, you'll get a free short story when it comes to James Janos, the main character. It kind of gives a little bit more backstory to this character if you're new to the series. But in today's video, it's sort of like part of the Journey of the Publication series, but this is more of a side video, and this is talking about like how to create more of a scary atmosphere for your readers when it comes to horror books or horror sections in your novels. Because writing horror is really difficult compared to movies, because movies, remember, we can actually see what the director is trying to convey to us, whereas a book, it's pretty open-ended what your readers are going to imagine you're trying to tell them, or what type of story you're trying to convey to them. So that puts a lot of pressure on us to try to develop the fear that some of the readers are wanting to experience when they read a horror book, because we all read horror books hopefully in order to get scared a little bit or have some fear while reading it. And it would be kind of lame if we signed up to read a horror book but then we weren't scared at all, or it just came off as very lame. So I'm going to offer some tips on how to make sure that any horror section or novel that you're writing comes off a little bit more scarier to your readers. Okay, so before we get on to a couple of the tips, we want to touch on two different things. Now, you want to tackle fear either one of these two ways or both. Now, I'll say preferably both. Number one is making your readers actually fearful when they read the book. Maybe you can create an environment where it kind of makes the hairs on our neck or arms stand up while reading it, where we're kind of uneasy to read this at night. So that's one type of fear that you can try to communicate what you can want from your readers. Or the second type of fear is have the readers fearful for your characters or what can happen to them. Consider that these characters are in a horror situation. You try to make us fearful of them. If you can't make someone like me scared, then at least try to make me fearful for what's going to happen to the characters and want them to survive, and fearful whether they're going to survive the book. So in order to do that, we're going to get on to the first tip, and that is obviously good characters. Because if we have good characters, we're going to be a little more fearful of what happens to them or what becomes of them. We don't want any harm to come about them. But in order to do this, one of the ways is to actually have the monsters a threat, or have maybe a character or two get picked off, or maybe one gets possessed, because you need to commit to one of these paths in a way, especially if you have a group of people, in order to show us that the monsters are a threat or they are capable of killing our characters. Because if they're not, let's say you have the book open up with 10 different people exploring a haunted forest, and none of them face any sort of danger, or none of them get hurt or get picked off along the way. Not saying that you have to pick off your characters, but if you don't really show a danger or a reason for us to fear these monsters or ghosts that are hunting our characters, we're not really going to fear for our characters, because they're going to feel invincible throughout the whole story, and we're not really going to we're just going to know that your characters are going to survive the whole book, because we know that you as the author don't have the guts to actually commit towards inflicting harm onto your characters. That way we kind of feel that there are stakes to your story. Okay, so a second thing I'd like to talk about, and this is relating to characters as well, but we're not going to be fearful for your characters if your characters are stupid, to put it plainly. If they're just following the typical horror tropes, oh, this character hears a weird noise in the closet and they know this place is haunted. Maybe I should go and investigate it. Or I could clearly run out the front door, but I'm gonna just run upstairs and corner myself on the second or third story where I can't get out of the house. Or we're gonna be splitting up the group, that way your characters can get picked off. Because at that point, we're not really fearful of your characters any more than we are frustrated with your characters. We're gonna be really frustrated that your characters are making dumb decision after dumb decision, because that's just what's going to happen. If I read a book or a horror book and the characters are just making dumb decision after dumb decision, and these are like blatantly obviously dumb decisions that a normal person would not make, I'm going to be more frustrated at your character than fearful whether their choice is going to like lead to any like lethal consequences. So a third thing I like to talk about, and this is again pointing at your characters, is have them reflect like some fear when it comes to these situations. Like, don't like have the tone like all messed up. Like, if the story's supposed to be scary, have your characters actually scared. Like, if you want the readers to feel the fear, like allow us to get inside your character's head and feel the fear that they're feeling during this situation. Like, if they're just walking through like a forest and they're hearing sounds and everything that would normally creep out anyone, that like any normal person, but yet your characters are like taking it very lightly, or they're maybe mildly scared, but then they just keep going like they didn't hear it a creepy sound like 5 seconds ago. Well, you're not really going to reflect any fear on us. Again, you're just going to make us be like, that's not realistic. Like, I'm pretty sure any normal person would be scared during this situation. So another tip I would like to talk about is have your monsters or ghosts or whatever antagonistic force or like spiritual being in your book, have them pretty strong. Like, we don't really know what their weaknesses are. Like, don't reveal that yet, because we only find that out later on in the book or the story when your characters need to like overcome them in some way. But mainly make them appear strong and like invincible. That way we have a reason to fear the threats that come in your horror books. Because if they start out like weak, or the characters already know ways to defeat them or anything during the first encounter, well, we're not going to like really be fearful, because then the characters should just be doing this tactic every single time they run into this ghost. Okay, so another tip I would like to talk about is, remember, you're writing a novel. You're not producing a film, or a film, like whatever vision you have, you can like the viewers are going to see what you were envisioning in your head, because they can just flat out see what you were envisioning. Whereas a book, you have to be really detailed on what you want your readers to see or imagine when they read like the description of your books, like when it comes to the monsters, the environment, what your characters are feeling, like some of the situations that are supposed to be like super creepy. So don't get into too much detail where you're just bogging down the story with detail and then you bore the readers, but just enough where we know what exactly you want us to see, especially if you're trying to like give us this sense of horror. Like, we need to know what you're trying to portray to us and what you're trying to tell us is scary. That way we can have a reason to be scared if we see what you, the author, is trying to communicate to us through your horror story. Okay, so the final tip I would like to talk about in making your story a little bit more scary is have mystery around like what's going on or your monsters. Like, don't reveal everything right away, or don't like blow all your ammunition right out of the gate. Like, I know you want to like start pretty early on with the scares or anything like that, but the thing is, if you give away the whole mystery, well, then the reader has really nothing to like be fearful for or have questions in their head. Because if we're not scared, we would at least have a mystery, like what triggers like this antagonistic horror force, or what is its weakness, or anything like that, or what is it that's like terrorizing our characters. Like, you want to have some sort of mystery. That way you kind of keep your readers on their toes, as well as the characters, because you don't want to just reveal all the secrets when it comes to like your monsters or ghosts, because otherwise you're going to like lose your readers, and the book is going to come off as like very lame and not scary and not very intriguing either. Okay, so those are all the tips I have for you guys on how to make your horror books more scary. Now, I'm pretty sure I left out a few tips, but if you want to share even more with me, feel free to leave comments down below and let me know some tips that I may have missed. But without any further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Happy writing and good day.